Chapter 3429. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed. In these months, Lu Ming had been comprehending the ancient god tactic and refining the primordial divine crystal. However, he had not made much progress. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. He knew that haste made waste. He needed to slowly grind. At this time, Lu Ming received news that Manku was leading the Man Alliance to attack the Dragon Alliance. They wanted to take over the Dragon Alliance's territory. Manku, what the hell are you doing? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Manku could not do anything to him. Why would he attack? Lu Ming did not think too much about it. He ended his seclusion and led the Dragon Alliance to fight. Somewhere in the Wind Cloud Mountain, a large number of geniuses were fighting. Manku led a group of people and stood in the air, watching the battle from afar. "They're here," Manku whispered. His eyes shone as he looked forward. There, a few streams of light were rushing over. In the next moment, a few figures appeared in the sky. These figures were naturally Lu Ming and the others. "Manku, are you looking for a beating again?" Lu Ming shouted coldly when he saw Manku. Shameless boasting. You didn't defeat me last time. If not for that metallic life form, I could have killed you with a flip of my hand." Manku snorted. "If we fight at the same level, I can crush you with a finger." Lu Ming's reply made Manku's face turn gloomy. However, he sneered and said, "Lu Ming, you want me to fight at the same level? You don't have a chance. However, if you can't make that metallic life form help, I will have a chance." After speaking, Manku cupped his fists to a black-robed youth beside him and said, "Brother Fong, wait a moment. I'll leave the other party's metallic life form to you." "Don't worry." The black-robed youth smiled faintly and stepped forward. Lu Ming could not help but look at the black-robed youth. The most eye-catching thing was the snake wrapped around his arm. It was a metallic snake. Its entire body shone with a metallic luster. It was definitely made of metal and not flesh and blood. "Let's see how powerful my gold-devouring demonic snake is," the black-robed young man said coldly. Then, he waved his hand and the metal snake flew out. After flying out, the metal snake madly grew in size until it was tens of thousands of meters long. The giant snake opened its mouth, and a huge mouth appeared. It was like a black hole, emitting a terrifying suction force. Wong, buzz. At this moment, many of the legendary weapons that were being controlled by the geniuses started vibrating violently. "What happened? I can't control my sword. Not good." Those youths cried out in alarm, trying their best to control their divine items. But in the next moment, a shocking scene occurred. Their divine items flew out of their control, flying toward the giant snake's mouth. Then, they all disappeared into the giant snake's mouth. Those who had lost their divine weapons were naturally the prodigies on Lu Ming's side. These people had lost their divine weapons and were shocked. They were careless and were attacked by the people from the Barbarian League. Instantly, more than 10 of them were killed in midair. "Retreat," Lu Ming shouted. When his voice rang out, the people from the Dragon League stopped fighting and retreated. "Ha ha ha, my gold-devouring demonic snake eats metals. It can even swallow a divine weapon in one gulp." The black-robed young man laughed. "It's indeed amazing. It can swallow so many divine weapons in one gulp." Lu Ming's eyes flickered. When Qiuqiu ate divine weapons, it took one bite at a time. But this metal snake had swallowed so many divine weapons in one gulp. Its appetite was really good. "Fong Lin, it's Fong Lin." At this moment, Bo Yi, who was beside Lu Ming, shouted. "Bo Yi, do you know this person?" Lu Ming asked. "I've seen him before. Leader, his name is Fong Lin. He's not from the Fengyan Mountain. He's an expert from another famed mountain, the Qitong Mountain." Bo Yi said, "Qitong Mountain?" Lu Ming's expression changed. "Fong Lin, there are rules in this world. People from different famed mountains can't interfere with each other. He's from the Qitong Mountain. How dare he interfere with the matters of the Fengyan Mountain? He has violated the rules." Bo Yi shouted, "When did I violate the rules? I'm good friends with Manku. What's wrong with helping him? Besides, I didn't do anything to your people. I brought my gold-devouring demonic snake to look for metals to eat. That's not against the rules, right?" Fong Lin sneered. You're being unreasonable. I'm going to report you to the Guardian. Bowie shouted. Go ahead. What do I have to fear? Fong Lin sneered. His fearless look made Bowie's face turn ugly. Bowie, there's no need to say anything more. Lu Ming said. This matter was probably approved by the Guardian. Even if he reported it to the Guardian, it would be useless. Lu Ming, let's settle this today. At this moment, Manka shouted and stepped out. His body swelled rapidly as he displayed the barbarian god physique, turning into a 100,000-meter-tall barbarian god. He clenched his fist and a bronze sword appeared. He slashed at Lu Ming. Fight! Lu Ming was fearless. He also displayed the ancient god physique and turned into a 10,000-meter-tall purple-armored ancient god. At the same time, Qiuqiu wriggled rapidly and turned into armor, covering Lu Ming's body. At the same time, Lu Ming's palm wriggled and turned into a huge sword. Lu Ming and Qiuqiu went all out as soon as they struck. Swoosh! The sword slashed out and clashed with Manku. There was a loud sound. Manka's body trembled, and he retreated a few steps. Metal life form. It's really a metal life form. What a powerful metal life form. Little snake, devour him. Fong Lin shouted with a greedy look. Hiss! The gigantic snake let out a hissing sound. It twisted its huge body and charged toward Lu Ming. At the same time, it opened its mouth like a black hole. A powerful suction force shrouded Lu Ming's entire body. Lu Ming was still fine after being enveloped by this suction force. However, Qiuqiu, who was covering him, began to wriggle rapidly. It seemed to be unable to maintain its armor form and was about to return to its original form. It works. Manku was delighted. Ha ha ha, such a powerful metal life form. Become my little snake's food. The gold-eater demonic snake is the king of metal life forms. Not only can it eat divine artifacts, it can also eat other metal life forms. Fong Lin laughed wildly as if he could see Qiuqiu being eaten. Moreover, after eating Qiuqiu, his gold-eater demonic snake would become stronger. Swoosh! Qiuqiu, who was on Lu Ming's body, wriggled rapidly and turned into a huge ball. It then flew toward the gold-eater demonic snake. Qiuqiu, Lu Ming was shocked. I'm fine. This snake looks delicious. I'm going to eat it. At this moment, Qiuqiu's voice sounded in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming immediately felt relieved. Manka stopped attacking. He wanted to see Lu Ming's metal life form being eaten and reveal a look of despair. Then, he wanted to suppress Lu Ming and let Lu Ming know the consequences of going against him. Qiuqiu was about to fly into the gold-eater demonic snake's mouth. Chapter 34:30. Qiuqiu quickly flew toward the metal-devouring demonic snake and was about to be swallowed. However, at this moment, the metal-devouring demonic snake's eyes were filled with fear. Its huge body trembled slightly, and the suction force in its mouth disappeared instantly. Hiss! Then, the metal-devouring demonic snake let out a few shrieks and turned to run like a mouse seeing a cat. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Just a moment ago, the metal-devouring demonic snake looked like it was going to eat Qiuqiu. Why did it turn and run in the blink of an eye? What was going on? It's too late to run now. Qiuqiu let out a childish voice and rushed out, landing on the metal-devouring demonic snake. It quickly wriggled and turned into a pool of liquid metal, covering the metal-devouring demonic snake's body. The metal-devouring demonic snake struggled madly, but it was useless. In a few breaths, Qiuqiu had completely covered the metal-devouring demonic snake. Then, with a few vibrations, Qiuqiu turned into a huge metal ball and floated in the air. Everyone was dumbfounded. The metal-devouring demonic snake was eaten? Just a moment ago, the metal-devouring demonic snake looked ferocious and wanted to eat Qiuqiu. Who would have thought that it would be eaten by Qiuqiu in the blink of an eye? Qiuqiu moved and flew to Lu Ming's side. It even opened its mouth and burped. King of the metal creatures? That's all you got, Lu Ming said indifferently. Fong Lin's eyes widened and turned blood red. Finally, he roared, My metal-devouring demonic snake. I want to die. Before he finished his roar, Fong Lin rushed toward Lu Ming and turned into his huge primordial divine body to attack Lu Ming. Primordial divine body 8th transformation. Lu Ming was shocked. This Fong Lin had cultivated the primordial divine body to the 8th transformation. His strength was astonishing. Qiuqiu. Lu Ming's heart moved. Qiuqiu landed on Lu Ming and turned into an armor, covering Lu Ming. The battle sword was formed again. Then, the sword slashed out. Boom, boom. Fong Lin's god body was shaken hard. He snorted and backed off, spurting blood. So the origin divine power factor has only awakened 3 times. Lu Ming's heart shook. This Fong Lin's god force origin factor had only awakened thrice. His battle prowess was even lower than Man Ku's. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to block Lu Ming's attack. Brat, give me back my gold-devouring demonic snake. Fong Lin roared with bloodshot eyes. They've all been eaten. How are they still alive? Lu Ming said, then give me the metallic life form, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Fong Lin shouted, his eyes filled with greed. Not only could Qiuqiu eat his gold-devouring demonic snake, but it also had such powerful combat strength. Is he an idiot? Now that you've lost to me, even if you want to let it go, I don't want to. Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped forward and attacked Fong Lin. Lu Ming, if you dare to touch me, I, Qitongshan, will not let you off. Fong Lin's expression changed, and he began to threaten him. Idiot, Lu Ming said coldly. He slashed out with his sword, and a mighty sword light slashed toward Fong Lin. Fong Lin was shocked and frantically retreated. At the same time, Man Ku also made his move. He slashed out with his bronze sword and blocked Lu Ming's sword light. Brother Fong, we can't do this today. Let's retreat first. Man Ku transmitted his voice to Fong Lin. Damn it! Fong Lin roared. He was extremely unwilling, but he also knew that he was no match for Lu Ming. There was nothing he could do even if he stayed. I won't let this go so easily. Just you wait. Fong Lin roared and turned to leave. Let's go. Man Ku led the people of the Barbarian Alliance and turned to leave. Lu Ming did not chase after them. His strength had not made any major breakthrough. Even if he wanted to fight, he would be on par with Man Ku. There was no need to fight. He led his people back to the Dragon Alliance and ordered them to tighten the defense in case the barbarian tribe attacked again. I'm going to report this to the Guardian. Bowie was indignant and wanted to report to the Guardian to punish Man Ku and Fong Lin. Lu Ming did not stop her, although he knew that it would be useless even if he reported it. This matter must have been tacitly approved by the Guardian. However, if he reported it, at least the Guardian would not be so arrogant and brazen. As expected, after a period of time, Man Ku was not punished. Lu Ming continued to cultivate and strive to make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Today, he had offended Fong Lin and was afraid that he would not let it go. Fong Lin was not the strongest group of people in Qitong Mountain. The strongest people in Qitong Mountain were the Mountain Master and the Deputy Mountain Master. Mount Qitong was a famous mountain that was unified. The Mount Qitong's Mountain Master's strength was unfathomable. The other Mountain Masters under him were also very powerful. Being ranked in the top 30, they were probably not weaker than Man Ku. If they were to fight, Lu Ming was not confident even if he had Qiuqiu. He had to continue to make a breakthrough. Soon, more than a month had passed. Qitong Mountain and Man Ku did not make any moves. Rumble. This time, Lu Ming was cultivating in seclusion. Suddenly, he felt a tremor. It was as if the entire Fengyun Mountain was shaking. What's going on? Lu Ming's face changed drastically. Fengyun Mountain was one of the famous mountains. It was a place that gave birth to a primordial god spirit. It was huge and sturdy, unlike the mountains in the outside world. What kind of existence could cause Fengyun Mountain to shake? It was unbelievable. Even an expert among the Sur gods would not be able to shake a corner of Fengyun Mountain, let alone shake the entire mountain. Lu Ming ended his seclusion and went out. He was not the only one. The entire Dragon Alliance felt it, and they were all shocked. Rumble. At this moment, Fengyun Mountain trembled again. One could clearly feel that the ground beneath their feet was shaking. It was as though a terrifying beast was moving its body within Fengyun Mountain. What's going on? Could it be that another terrifying primordial god spirit is being nurtured inside Fengyun Mountain? This thought involuntarily flashed across Lu Ming's mind. At this thought, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. If that was the case, it would be an earth-shattering event. In the current Eldritch universe, primordial god spirits were no longer around. If another primordial god spirit were to appear, it would definitely be an earth-shattering event. The primordial god spirits were too powerful. Any one of them was a pinnacle expert in the Eldritch universe. They were terrifying existences that could shake the universe. Fengyun Mountain shook for a while before it regained its calmness. Could it be a divine energy explosion? At this moment, Bowie spoke. Her eyes were filled with surprise. Divine energy explosion? Lu Ming was puzzled. However, many others had heard of it and were also surprised. Alliance leader, the 13 famous mountains have given birth to primordial god spirits. Therefore, there are terrifying primordial god crystals in the mountains. After a long time, the primordial god chi in the mountains will accumulate to the peak. Then, it will explode. It is called a divine energy explosion. Bowie explained. Chapter 34-31. Eruption of divine energy? Will it cause a huge impact? Lu Ming's face changed. If all the divine energy in Fengyun Mountain were to erupt, would it cause a devastating blow to Fengyun Mountain? It won't cause a huge impact. The divine energy in the mountain will automatically find a weak area and erupt. However, the exact location is not fixed and it's hard to determine. There is no pattern to the eruption of divine energy in the famed mountains. Moreover, there will be a long interval between each eruption. I didn't expect that we would be able to witness an eruption of divine energy in Fengyun Mountain. Bowie was amazed and she looked even happier. Could it be that the eruption of divine energy is an opportunity? Lu Ming asked. Of course. Primordial divine spirits are born in the famed mountains, and they are filled with terrifying aura. No one can enter and explore. I'm afraid that even divine lords would be crushed to death if they enter. Therefore, no one knows what's inside the famed mountains. However, to be able to give birth to primordial divine spirits, one can only imagine the situation inside the famed mountains. It will definitely give birth to unimaginable treasures. As for primordial divine crystals, I'm afraid there are countless of them. Every time there's an eruption of divine energy, there will be a large number of primordial divine crystals in the famed mountains. Even more precious treasures will erupt at the same time. This is truly a huge opportunity. Bowie said, treasures in the famed mountains. Hearing this, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, his eyes flickered and he said, if that's the case, I'm afraid that the experts from other famed mountains will come and fight for it. No, there are rules in this world. The famed mountains are not allowed to fight or interfere with each other. The eruption of divine energy is Fengyun Mountain's matter and also our opportunity. Even if the other famed mountains covet it, they can't interfere. Bowie said, that's great. Immediately arrange for people to search for the places where the divine energy might erupt. We have to find the place before the Man Alliance does. Lu Ming instructed. The people from the Dragon Alliance started to take action. During this period, there was no need to condense primordial divine crystals. They could focus on searching for the places where the divine energy might erupt. At the same time, the people from the Man Alliance started to search the mountains. From time to time, people from both sides would bump into each other and erupt into fights. As time passed, Fengyun Mountain trembled more and more violently. It was not far from the divine energy eruption. On this day, Lu Ming received a report that they had found the suspected location of the explosion. The location was actually at the foot of Fengyun Mountain. Lu Ming immediately rushed over with his men. At the foot of the mountain south of Mt. Fengyun, there was a pile of rubble. During this period of time, divine aura was constantly seeping out from this pile of rubble. The divine aura became extremely dense and pervaded the air like mist. This was most likely the weakest spot. The divine chi within the Fengyun Mountain was pouring towards this spot, resulting in such a situation. Rumble. When Lu Ming arrived, the area was still shaking slightly. Lu Ming even saw the ground rise and fall, as if a prehistoric beast was about to rush out of the ground. At this moment, Lu Ming looked in another direction. Streaks of rainbow light were flying towards them from that direction. The berserkers really did come. Lu Ming muttered. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Numerous figures flew over from that direction. The one leading them was Manku. Manku led the Berserker Alliance and stopped in the distance, facing the Dragon Alliance. Manku, we were the first to find this place. Bowie shouted. You guys found it first? What a joke. We were the first to find this place. But when my men went back to report to me, you guys took over this place first. Now that we are here, you guys can leave. Manku smiled faintly. How shameless. Bowie shouted coldly. Manku was obviously lying through his teeth. Lu Ming did not say much. This time, no one would be willing to let go of the divine energy eruption. Even if the berserkers found it first, he would not let it go. Vice versa. There was no point in talking too much. When the time came, strength would do the talking. This time, let's get rid of the berserkers once and for all. A cold light flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. Similarly, Manku's eyes were filled with killing intent. Both parties faced each other and waited quietly, waiting for the divine energy to erupt. Time passed by quickly. Day after day passed by. With each passing day, the area began to tremble more and more violently. Soon, half a month had passed. Rumble. A loud rumbling sound came from underground. The ground was undulating as if a giant beast was about to emerge. Retreat. Lu Ming and Manku both shouted as they retreated with their subordinates to a safe distance. The eruption of divine qi was no small matter. Once the divine qi rushed out, its power was boundless. If one was hit by the divine qi, they would die no matter how strong they were. After the first wave of explosions, the divine qi would weaken. They're coming. Suddenly, someone spoke in a nervous voice. Rumble. The ground exploded, and the pile of rocks in front of him trembled. Then blood-red pillars of light shot out from the ground, and those incomparably hard rocks exploded one by one. In the blink of an eye, over 100 blood-red light pillars appeared on the ground. Furthermore, these light pillars grew larger and larger. In the end, boom, there was an earth-shattering roar, and gravel flew everywhere. A huge blood-red light pillar with a diameter of over 100 miles erupted from the ground. It pierced through the clouds and rushed into the sky. It was a spectacular sight. Be careful, Lu Ming shouted as he set up layers of defense in front of him. The others did the same as well. Gravel constantly flew over like a divine weapon with great power. Divine qi condensed into a shield in front of them, blocking the gravel. What a rich divine qi. Lu Ming took a deep breath and was shocked. The blood-red light pillar was made up of primordial divine qi. It was extremely rich, and many times richer than the primordial divine qi in Fengyan Mountain. In the future, the primordial divine qi in Fengyan Mountain would be very rich, and the speed of condensing primordial divine crystals would increase. It was a great opportunity for the entire Fengyan Mountain, and it would make the other famous mountains jealous. Rumble. The blood-red light pillar continued to erupt as if there was no end to it. After a while, the intensity of the light pillar weakened a little. At this moment, along with the pillar of light, numerous crystals flew out. Primordial divine crystals? The primordial divine crystals are out. Someone exclaimed. The densely packed crystals were all primordial divine crystals. No one knew how many there were, but it was a shocking number. Everyone waited and did not make a move immediately. The primordial divine crystals shot into the sky along with the light pillar, and then scattered in all directions. Chapter 34-32. Moments later, crash. Primordial divine crystals that filled the sky sprinkled down from the sky like raindrops. Snatch them! Someone roared and rushed towards the sky, pouncing on the primordial divine crystals. Attack! They're mine. At this moment, everyone moved and rushed towards the sky to snatch the primordial divine crystals. Most of them had gone crazy and were frantically snatching the primordial divine crystals. This was a rare opportunity, and it belonged to whoever snatched it. There was no need to hand it over. It was much faster than slowly accumulating it. No one would complain about having too many primordial divine crystals, as they were priceless treasures. Lu Ming also rushed towards the sky and condensed his divine force into a giant hand. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of primordial divine crystals were caught. In just a few moments, Lu Ming had obtained a few thousand primordial divine crystals. There were tens of thousands of people in Fengyun Mountain, Dragon League, and Man League. No matter how many primordial divine crystals there were, it wasn't enough for them to snatch. Soon, all the primordial divine crystals were about to be snatched clean. Conflict erupted. Get lost. These primordial divine crystals are mine. You're the one who should get lost. I saw it first. Then I'll send you on your way. Loud roars resounded as blade radiance and sword radiance flashed. Loud rumbling sounds could be heard in the sky as many people were engaged in a fierce battle. Then, screams could be heard as someone was killed and blood dyed the sky red. This was like a fuse as the scope of the battle expanded rapidly. Soon, more than half of the people from Dragon League and Man League were involved in an intense battle. Of course, no one dared to fight beside Lu Ming, Bo Yi, and the others. Ordinary Man League disciples didn't even dare to fight with them. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure flickered as he continued to snatch the primordial divine crystals. At this moment, the light pillar formed by the primordial divine qi in Fengyun Mountain was getting smaller and weaker. However, there were still primordial divine crystals flying out. That's Divine Force Origin Bead. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes flashed and a dazzling radiance burst out from them. He saw two treasures flying out from Fengyun Mountain, along with the primordial divine crystals. They were clearly Divine Force Origin Beads. Inside the Fengyun Mountain, there was actually a Divine Force Source Bead. A Divine Force Source Bead that could awaken an Origin Source secret technique. Back then, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King had used a Divine Power Source Bead to cause the geniuses in the Nine Extinction Heavenly King Mansion to kill each other. In the end, the Divine Power Source Bead was obtained by Lu Ming. Such treasures were extremely rare and could only be found by chance. Now that two of them had appeared at the same time, how could Lu Ming miss out on this opportunity? With a movement of his body, Lu Ming dashed toward the Divine Power Origin Bead. On the other side, Manku also saw the Divine Power Source Bead. Greed flashed across his eyes. Although he had already awakened the Source Secret Technique, the Godly Power Source Pearl's attribute determined its value. It was too precious. It had to be known that many Divine Lord Realm existences had yet to awaken an Origin's secret technique. A Divine Power Origin Bead was enough to drive these Divine Lords crazy. Manku also rushed towards the God Power Source Pearl. As he rushed out, his body rapidly swelled up, turning into a huge barbarian god. He was 100,000 meters tall, standing between the heavens and the earth. He grabbed towards the God Power Source Pearl, wanting to grab it. Scram! Lu Ming shouted coldly. He also turned into his purple-armored ancient god body. Then, the ball wriggled and covered his entire body. A battle sword condensed in his hand, and he slashed out. A dazzling sword light slashed onto Manku's palm. Manku's arm trembled, and he couldn't help but retract it. The two Divine Power Source Beads flew past Manku's hand. The Divine Power Source Beads are mine. Manku roared. The bronze battle sword appeared, and he slashed towards Lu Ming. At this moment, the battle character manual in Lu Ming's Sea of Consciousness was shining brightly, and it vibrated slightly. This was Lu Ming activating the battle character manual to increase his combat strength by 5 times. Now, the battle character manual had 5 times combat strength, and Lu Ming had cultivated it to a 1 in 7 chance. Every time he activated it, he would succeed. Boom! Lu Ming succeeded in activating it, and he went all out, slashing his sword towards Manku. Dang! The battle sword clashed with Manku's bronze battle sword, and Lu Ming still had the upper hand. The bronze battle sword bounced back, and Manku retreated continuously. Then, Lu Ming took a step forward, and his battle sword continued to slash towards Manku. Attack! Manku suddenly shouted. At this moment, a figure wrapped in a black robe suddenly appeared in front of Manku, holding a round ball in his hand. The round ball shone brightly, and it rapidly expanded. There seemed to be mountains and lakes carved on it, and it looked like a planet. It flew towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming's sword slashed at the round ball, and it shook violently. However, Lu Ming's sword was also blocked. Lu Ming's face froze. In the Man Union, other than Man Ku, who else could block his sword? Swoosh. At this moment, in the sky, another black-robed figure flashed. He was as fast as lightning, and he grabbed the two divine power source beads in his hand. Then, he appeared beside Man Ku. Who are you? Hide your head and show your tail. Show your true face. Lu Ming coldly shouted. If you want to know, let's see if you have the ability to do so. One of the black-robed figures sneered. Kill. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with the other party. He held his battle sword and attacked.
Attack.
Man Ku roared. He opened his mouth, and the white bone flew out again. Man Ku's expression was one of pain as the white bone flew towards him and fused with him, transforming into a set of white bone armor that covered his body. With the protection of the white bone armor, Man Ku's confidence increased greatly. He roared and waved his bronze battle sword, launching a storm of attacks at Lu Ming. The other two black-robed figures flashed, and they also attacked Lu Ming. Union leader, we're here to help you. At this moment, Bowie shouted. He and the other vice-union leader wanted to help Lu Ming, but another black-robed figure appeared in front of them. This person held a halberd. When the halberd slashed out, the Qilin roared, and a few huge Qilins flew out, rushing towards Bowie and the vice-union leader. Boom, boom. Two violent explosions sounded. Bowie and the vice-union leader's expression changed, and they retreated rapidly. They weren't a match at all. Qilin halberd, you're Lin Xian, Bowie shouted. His expression was very ugly. Lin Xian was the vice leader of another famous mountain, Qitong Mountain. The vice leaders of other famous mountains actually interfered in the Battle of Fengyan Mountain. If you don't want to die, get lost. The youth holding the halberd, Lin Xian, shouted coldly. He turned around and attacked Lu Ming, wanting to besiege Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming slashed out more than 10 times, and the sword light filled the sky. Although Man Ku's defense was strong enough, his attack power was still weaker than Lu Ming's. He was hit by the sword light, and he was forced to retreat. The other two black-robed figures were even weaker, and they were sent flying by the violent sword light. You do have some strength. It seems that if I don't use my strongest move, I won't be able to take him down. One of the black-robed figures shouted coldly. Suddenly, he roared, and the black robe on his body exploded, revealing his true appearance. Chapter 34-33. A black-robed man's black robe exploded, revealing his true appearance. Then, his body swelled up rapidly and turned into a huge tiger. The tiger had a single horn and a pair of wings. Its body was covered in blood-red scales. That was the primitive divine body. What was shocking was that the primitive divine body was huge, almost the same size as Man Ku. Eighth transformation of the primitive divine body. That was obviously the eighth transformation of the primitive divine body. Then, another black-robed man's body swelled up rapidly and turned into the primitive divine body. He was a huge wolf with 3 heads. His body was huge and not any weaker than Man Ku. Another eighth transformation of the primitive divine body. Then, Lin Xian also used his primitive divine body and turned into a huge golden ape. He was 100,000 meters tall and held a huge halberd in his hand. He was also at the 8th transformation of the primitive divine body. The 3 experts, together with Man Ku, made a total of 4 people. They surrounded Lu Ming. Their violent aura was like a vast ocean, filling the entire area. This scene shocked the others. Those people who were fighting couldn't help but stop and look over in shock. It's you guys. Damn it. How dare you? Obviously, Bowie recognized the 3 of them. He yelled and then said to Lu Ming, Alliance Chief, they are the Deputy Lords of Qi Tongshan. There are a total of 3 Deputy Lords of Qi Tongshan. All of them are here. Lin Xian is ranked in the top 30 on the Divine King list. Deputy Mountain Masters of Qi Tong Mountain? No wonder. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. No wonder they were so powerful. Especially Lin Xian, who was ranked in the top 30 on the God King list. The God King list was a list selected by the people of this world. It only listed the top 30 strongest geniuses, and each of them had shocking combat strength. Qitong Mountain has interfered with the matters of Fengyan Mountain. You have seriously violated the rules. If the Guardian knows about this, you will be in deep trouble. Bowie shouted. Hee, this is only the foot of Fengyan Mountain. We have not climbed up the mountain. Lin Xian quibbled. Nonsense. This is the territory of Fengyan Mountain. Bowie shouted. Why are you talking nonsense with them? Let's kill Lu Ming first. Man Ke shouted as he brandished his bronze sword and charged towards Lu Ming. At the same time, Qi Tongshan's 3 deputy mountain lords also moved, charging towards Lu Ming. The 4 experts attacked Lu Ming from all directions. Their attacks were like a torrential storm. Lu Ming's gaze was very cold. Needless to say, the fact that Qi Tong Mountain's deputy mountain chieftain dared to kill his way here must have been tacitly approved by the guardian of the barbarian tribe. He could only rely on himself now. Kill. Lu Ming let out a long roar as various secret techniques of the origin emerged from his body. They separated into 4 waves and attacked Man Ke, Lin Xian, and the others. As for Lu Ming, he brandished his sword and charged towards the 3-headed giant wolf. Man Ke's defense was too strong and not easy to deal with. But for the others, it was impossible for their defense to be as abnormal as Man Ke's. Roar, roar, roar. The 3-headed giant wolf let out a loud roar and spat out 3 beams of light, directly blasting away Lu Ming's secret techniques of the origin. Lu Ming's cultivation was still a little weak after all. With his own strength, even if he used his secret techniques of the origin, he still couldn't defeat these people. After the secret techniques of the origin were blasted away, the beams of light continued to blast towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming swung his sword and chopped down, directly splitting the 3 beams of light in half. Then, he continued to attack the 3-headed giant wolf. The 3-headed giant wolf's expression changed. Clearly, Lu Ming's attack power had exceeded his expectations. With another 3 roars, 3 bolts of lightning shot out from his mouth, transforming into 3 swords and slashing towards Lu Ming. At the same time, Lin Xian, Man Ke, and the other 2 also blasted away Lu Ming's secret techniques of the origin and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was helpless. He could only give up on attacking Man Ke and dodge with all his strength. His figure flashed continuously, narrowly avoiding the attacks of these people. You can't dodge. Lin Xian's cold voice rang out. The Qilin battle halberd slashed down horizontally. The Qilin roared and pounced towards Lu Ming with terrifying power that could tear apart the void. Man Ke roared as he waved his bronze sword and attacked from another direction. On the other hand, the 1-horned giant tiger controlled a huge ball and pressed it towards Lu Ming. The 3-headed giant wolf laughed wildly as 3 lightning swords slashed towards Lu Ming. Every attack was extremely terrifying and could easily kill a large number of peak divine kings. Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless. He waited with rapt attention as he waved his sword continuously, forming an airtight defense around himself. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying explosions continued to erupt. In the end, the attacks of the 4 experts were all blocked by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's face also paled. The rebounding force wasn't pleasant. Not good. If this continues, Qiuqiu's divine power will be exhausted soon. Lu Ming thought to himself. However, the 4 experts on the other side weren't any weaker than him. The 4 of them joining forces was too powerful. Fight! Lu Ming's eyes revealed a ruthless look. At this point, he could only fight with his life on the line. Qiuqiu, you have to hold on. Lu Ming muttered as he rushed forward. He was still rushing towards the 3-headed giant wolf. Although the 3-headed giant wolf's attack power was very high, its defense was relatively weak. Moreover, it was the easiest to deal with among the 4 experts. In the process of rushing out, Lu Ming's body lit up continuously. 9 layers of crimson gold armor and ice shackles wrapped around Lu Ming. At Lu Ming's current level, although the 9 layers of crimson gold armor and ice shackles weren't enough, they could at least increase his defense, right? Kill! Lu Ming shouted as the battle sword in his hand slashed towards the 3-headed giant wolf like a storm. At the same time, all kinds of secret origin techniques bombarded the 3-headed giant wolf. Lu Ming only focused on the three-headed giant wolf's attacks. As for the others' attacks, Lu Ming didn't feel like paying attention to them. The three-headed giant wolf roared as it spat out one attack after another, but they were all defeated by Lu Ming. At the same time, Manku, Lin Xian, and the other two's attacks also landed on Lu Ming's body. Almost in an instant, the ice shackles and 9 layers of crimson gold armor were shattered. One attack after another landed on Lu Ming's body. Immediately, Lu Ming's body shook violently. Qiuqiu's armor violently squirmed, becoming incomparably hard and blocking all kinds of attacks. However, some places were still broken through. For example, Lin Xian's Qilin battle halberd directly tore a hole in Qiuqiu's armor. A terrifying power poured into Lu Ming's body. Immediately, blood flowed wildly. But fortunately, Qiuqiu blocked the majority of the power. Furthermore, Lu Ming cultivated the demonic golden body. His body was powerful, and his vitality was extremely tenacious. He forcibly blocked this attack. As for Manku and the Horned Tiger's attacks, they were forcibly blocked by Qiuqiu's armor. However, some of the power passed through the armor and poured into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's body to shake violently. But in the end, he still managed to block it. Kill! Lu Ming roared as his attacks didn't stop. He stared at the three-headed giant wolf and slashed down with his sword. Chapter 34:34. Lu Ming stared at the three-headed wolf, his sword light raining down like a storm. The two of them exchanged more than a dozen moves, but in the end, Lu Ming was stronger. He broke through the three-headed wolf's attack, and when his sword light landed on the wolf's body, blood splattered everywhere. One of the three-headed wolf's heads was forcibly cut off by Lu Ming. The three-headed wolf let out a wail and retreated. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and continued to charge toward the other party. Courting death! Manku, Lin Xian, and the others roared. All kinds of attacks once again bombarded Lu Ming. Lu Ming still didn't dodge, taking everyone's attacks head-on. His body staggered and he almost fell, but he managed to hold on. His attacks didn't stop as he continued to attack the three-headed wolf. The three-headed wolf was heavily injured after losing one of its heads. Its strength declined, and it was no match for Lu Ming. Although it rapidly retreated and set up several dozen defenses in front of it, it was still struck by Lu Ming's sword, leaving a deep sword wound on its chest. Just as Lu Ming was about to take the opportunity to pursue, Manku madly charged forward. With shocking speed, he arrived in front of the three-headed wolf, resisting Lu Ming's attack. With Manku's defensive power, Lu Ming could only force him back. It was hard for him to break through his defenses. What a pity! Lu Ming sighed inwardly. The other side had too many people, and they had to support each other. It was still difficult for him to focus on one person. Following that, Lu Ming changed direction and attacked the one-horned tiger. Both sides engaged in a fierce battle. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged several dozen moves. It had to be said that Qiuqiu's strength was getting stronger and stronger, closer and closer to the divine monarch realm. Moreover, Qiuqiu had swallowed a large amount of divine tools along the way, and there was no lack of defensive divine tools like shields. Among the 4 great experts, only Lin Xian could truly break through Qiuqiu's defenses and injure Lu Ming. But with Lu Ming's tenacity, he was able to withstand it. Therefore, even though the opponent had the upper hand in the fierce battle, he was still unable to kill Lu Ming. This fellow's metallic lifeform's defensive power is too great. What do we do? Manku secretly transmitted his voice to the others. No matter how strong his defense is, he will still die. Force him to the hole where the primordial divine energy is erupting and blast him into the interior of Fengyun Mountain. He will definitely die. Lin Xian's expression was ferocious as he also transmitted his voice. That's right. The inside of this famed mountain is filled with an incomparably terrifying pressure. Even a peak divine lord will die if they go in. If this brat goes in, he will die without a doubt. Let's do this. Manku's eyes lit up. At this moment, the three-headed giant wolf had recovered a little and charged back. However, it only followed Manku and did not dare to leave. The 4 experts surrounded Lu Ming and attacked him continuously. Slowly, Their battlefield shifted to the top of the hole where the primordial divine chi was erupting. At this moment, the primordial god chi was almost fully released. However, there were still primordial god crystals flying out from time to time. It's time. Suppress them. At this moment, Lin Xian shouted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a stone pagoda appeared. This stone pagoda was 100 stories tall. It rapidly expanded and turned into an incomparably huge stone pagoda. Like a mountain, it suppressed Lu Ming. Break it! Lu Ming brandished his battle sword and slashed at the stone pagoda. He wanted to blast the stone pagoda away. Clang! The battle sword slashed at the bottom of the stone pagoda, causing the stone pagoda to shake. However, the bottom floor of the stone pagoda suddenly exploded, forming a terrifying gravitational force that pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body involuntarily fell into the hole. Oh no, they want to force me into the interior of the famed mountain. Lu Ming's expression changed. With his current cultivation, he would definitely die if he entered the interior of the famed mountain. No matter how tenacious Qiuqiu's vitality was, it would still be crushed into ashes by the terrifying pressure. The interior of the famed mountain was the place where the primordial divine spirit was born. What kind of existence was a primordial divine spirit? It could kill a group of divine lords with a single breath. It was a peak existence in the primitive universe. Charge! Lu Ming shouted and executed the Garuda technique to the extreme. He turned into a Garuda and was about to soar into the sky. However, the stone pagoda began to explode again. Moreover, several floors exploded consecutively. Boom, boom, boom. Several terrifying gravitational forces rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's upward momentum was immediately obstructed. Slash! Lu Ming shouted and brandished his sword continuously. He wanted to break through the gravitational force. However, after barely breaking through the first layer, several more layers pressed down on him. Lu Ming's body continued to fall. Haha, you want to charge out after being suppressed by my 100 layers pagoda? How naive. Go down and explode. Lin Xian laughed and shouted. The stone pagoda continued to press down on Lu Ming. At the same time, several floors exploded. Every time a floor of the stone pagoda exploded, a gravitational force pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming continued to fall. Alliance Master, it's over. At this moment, the members of the Dragon Alliance who saw this scene sighed deeply. Lu Ming was blasted down from Fengyun Mountain. Only death awaited him. It was impossible for him to survive. Retreat. Let's retreat quickly. At this moment, Bowie shouted and gathered the members of the Dragon Alliance. Then, they retreated. Although the explosion of primordial divine energy had not ended, and there were still primordial divine crystals exploding, they could no longer care about the primordial divine crystals. With Lu Ming dead, no one could stop Manku, not to mention the 3 vice mountain lords of Qi Tongshan. If they continued to fight for the primordial divine crystals, only death awaited them. They retreated towards Fengyun Mountain. Manka glanced at them and did not ask anyone to pursue. Humph, I'll let you live for a while longer. Manka snorted. It was better to collect the primordial divine crystals first. As for the Dragon Alliance, without Lu Ming, it would be destroyed by him sooner or later. Explode! 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 Lin Xian shouted and formed seals with both hands. He controlled the stone pagoda to explode continuously. Waves of gravity pressed down on Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming was unable to charge forward. Every time the gravity pressed down on him, his body would fall down by a large margin. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had fallen over 10,000 meters. Dong, dong, dong. At this point, Lu Ming's ancient god heart started to beat violently. That was because of the pressure coming from all directions. The further down he went, the more terrifying and shocking the pressure in all directions. Lu Ming felt that it was difficult for him to breathe. However, the stone pagoda continued to press down. There were a total of 100 levels and the gravity was endless. Lu Ming's body continued to fall crazily. When he had fallen 30,000 meters, the pressure was already terrifying. Lu Ming's body was in intense pain and his bones were cracking. He could not hold on any longer and was about to break. Bloody scars appeared on the surface of his body. Blood flowed out continuously. Even with Chochio's protection, it was useless. Moreover, Chochio was not in a good condition either. It squirmed and curled into a ball. It was hard for it to protect itself and Lu Ming. Chapter 34-35. It's so painful. Chochio screamed in agony. His body was wriggling and even emitting green smoke. Chochio, hang in there. We won't die. Hang in there. Lu Ming shouted. At the same time, thoughts were running through his mind as he tried to come up with a solution. In an instant, dozens of ideas and solutions flashed through his mind. However, none of them worked. The main reason was that the pressure outside was too strong. At this moment, Lu Ming couldn't even move. The stone pagoda above couldn't withstand the pressure and was trembling constantly. However, in the next moment, the stone pagoda exploded violently. Initially, there were still over 50 floors of the stone pagoda that hadn't exploded. At this moment, the remaining 50 floors exploded in an instant. Over 50 gravitational forces pressed down on Lu Ming. It's over. A thought popped up in Lu Ming's mind. Subsequently, over 50 gravitational forces pressed down on Lu Ming and Chochio. The two of them fell down like two meteorites. In an instant, they had descended over 100,000 meters. After descending to this point, Lu Ming scanned his surroundings and was shocked. This was an underground space. It was obviously the inner region of Fengyan Mountain. The space was huge and filled with dense blood-red mist. It was primordial divine qi. On the surrounding walls, there were longan-sized crystals that were blood-red in color. Primordial divine crystals. All of them were primordial divine crystals. They were scattered all over the walls. How many of them were there? Millions? Tens of millions? Lu Ming didn't know. In short, there were countless of them. How long had Fengyan Mountain existed? When the primordial divine qi in this place reached a certain level, it would condense into primordial divine crystals. By now, it was unknown how many primordial divine crystals had appeared. At this moment, blood radiance appeared on Lu Ming's body. His body was cracking and disintegrating. The pressure here was so strong that it was terrifying. As soon as Lu Ming entered, his body was about to disintegrate under the pressure. It hurts. I'm going to die. Chochio screamed as cracks appeared on his metallic body. What a pity, Lu Ming sighed. What was the use of having so many treasures here? He couldn't even survive, let alone obtain any treasures. Seeing that Lu Ming's body was about to disintegrate at this time, the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows began to shine. The purple copper coffin that had been kept in the frightening feather painting actually flew out on its own. As soon as the purple copper coffin flew out, it emitted a gentle light that enveloped Lu Ming and Chochio. As soon as he was enveloped by this light, the pressure from the outside world instantly disappeared without a trace. Hoo, Lu Ming panted heavily. He felt that his body was extremely relaxed. Chochio was about the same. It had shrunk into a ball and was panting with its mouth wide open. We're saved. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He didn't expect that at this critical moment, he would be saved by the purple copper coffin. In fact, he had wanted to take out the purple copper coffin before this, but his body was suppressed by the pressure from the outside world. He couldn't even take it out even if he wanted to. This is the place where the primordial divine spirit was born. The purple copper coffin is actually able to withstand the pressure here. It's really mysterious. What exactly is inside the purple copper coffin? What kind of secret does it hold? Lu Ming sized up the purple copper coffin as thoughts ran through his mind. He even suspected that there was a living primordial divine spirit in the purple copper coffin. Because the purple copper coffin was revealing information related to the primordial divine spirit, Lu Ming couldn't help but think this way. Even if there wasn't a living primordial divine spirit, it was very likely that there was a fallen primordial divine spirit. Otherwise, how could it be so mysterious? Shaking his head, Lu Ming shook his head to get rid of his wandering thoughts. He then sized up his surroundings. This place was almost the bottom of Fengyan Mountain. The primordial divine qi was so dense that it couldn't be dispersed. The surrounding walls were filled with primordial divine crystals. Afterward, Lu Ming's eyes widened when he looked at the bottom of the cave. On the ground at the bottom, there was a blood-red fluorescent glow. There was a large pile of longan-sized crystals. All of them were primordial divine crystals. At a glance, there were countless of them. There were many times more than the primordial divine crystals on the surrounding walls. That is, suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes widened. He found another kind of treasure among the piles of primordial divine crystals. It was the divine force source bead. Yes, at a glance, he saw at least 10 divine force source beads. This was only what he saw. There were definitely more than that. In addition, Lu Ming also saw a few plants. They were swaying and emitting dazzling rays of light. Treasures. Plants that grew in such an environment were peerless treasures. They were priceless treasures. The outside world's legends weren't wrong. There were indeed countless treasures in Finjayun Mountain. If the treasures here were to be seen by the people outside, they would definitely go crazy. I'm rich. I'm rich. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming looked around in a daze. He almost drooled and laughed foolishly. How many resources were there? If he brought them out, it would definitely shock the Taishu dynasty. What kind of force could he develop into? With these treasures, Lu Ming wouldn't need to fight with others in the future. He could use money to kill others. Lu Ming was fantasizing about the beautiful days in the future. At this moment, there was another change in the purple copper coffin. With a cracking sound, the lid of the purple copper coffin opened by itself, leaving behind a small gap. Lu Ming was shocked. His hair stood on end. His body tensed up and his heartbeat accelerated. The purple copper coffin opened by itself. What's going on? Could there really be a living creature in the purple copper coffin that wanted to crawl out? At the thought of this, Lu Ming broke out in cold sweat. Click. The lid of the purple copper coffin continued to open. It slowly became bigger. Finally, an inch-wide crack appeared. Strange. There isn't that terrifying aura. Although Lu Ming was shocked, he still felt that it was strange. In the past, when Lu Ming opened the purple copper coffin on his own initiative, as long as there was a crack thinner than a fan, a terrifying aura would spread out. That aura was so powerful that even he couldn't bear it. It contained a terrifying danger. But now, the purple copper coffin opened by itself to an inch-wide gap, but there wasn't a trace of strange aura released. What the hell? Could there really be a living creature inside? Lu Ming's heart tightened. It was too similar. It was like when he opened the purple copper coffin, the existence inside was unhappy. That was why it emitted that terrifying aura. But when it opened itself, it wouldn't emit that kind of aura because it was voluntary. The next moment, something happened that made Lu Ming wail. A powerful suction force suddenly erupted from the purple copper coffin, enveloping all directions. Hoo-hoo! Suddenly, the surrounding primordial divine chi madly gathered toward the purple copper coffin and was sucked into it. Not only that, but the primordial divine crystals on the ground and walls also moved. They flew toward the purple copper coffin and disappeared into it. No! Lu Ming screamed miserably. He watched helplessly as countless primordial divine crystals flew into the purple copper coffin. Chapter 34-36. In just a breath's time, a large amount of primordial divine crystals flew into the purple copper coffin. A few 100,000? A few million? It was probably more than that. Moreover, the suction force from the purple copper coffin was getting stronger and stronger as if there was no end to it. The primordial divine chi and primordial divine crystals flew into the purple copper coffin at an even faster speed. My primordial divine crystals! Lu Ming screamed and wanted to rush out to stop them. However, as soon as he got close to the outside, a terrifying aura pressed down on him and almost caused his body to explode. He quickly retreated and did not dare to go out. Whoosh! Primordial divine crystals flew towards the purple copper coffin from all directions. There were even divine force source beads mixed in with them. Although there were not many of them, Lu Ming saw at least a dozen of them. That was a dozen divine force source beads. If they were taken out, each of them could be sold for a sky-high price. However, they had disappeared in an instant. Lu Ming's heart ached. His liver and lungs ached. His entire body ached. His heart was about to break. My treasure! Lu Ming screamed miserably. However, the purple copper coffin did not seem to have any intention of stopping and continued to absorb. A large amount of primordial divine chi flew into the purple copper coffin along with the primordial divine crystals. Even the divine force source beads were absorbed into the purple copper coffin. This was the real plunder. Lu Ming's heart was bleeding. A few minutes later, the purple copper coffin finally stopped absorbing. With a click, the purple copper coffin lid closed and floated quietly. A ray of light shone down and enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked around and realized that the primordial divine crystals in the Fengyun Mountain had almost all been plundered. Only a small portion was left, and it was sparse. The primordial divine chi was also much thinner. However, this place was mysterious and would constantly produce primordial divine chi. It would not dry up just like that. This damn guy. His appetite is too big. Lu Ming cursed. Of course, he only thought about it in his heart. He didn't dare to say it out loud. He really didn't know what was inside the purple copper coffin. If he angered it and got swallowed, he would be finished. After muttering to himself for a while, Lu Ming's resentment lessened a little. Then, he controlled the purple copper coffin to fly towards a wall. There were still a few scattered primeval divine crystals here. Lu Ming wouldn't let them go and planned to plunder them all. Flying over, Lu Ming used his god force to form giant hands that grabbed the primordial god crystal and broke it off. Asterisk crack crack. Asterisk following that, Lu Ming continuously took action to gather the remaining primordial divine crystals. Although there was only a small portion left, that was compared to before, the number was still very astonishing. After Lu Ming walked around the walls and the ground, Lu Ming still managed to collect over 1,000,000 primordial divine crystals. There were over 1,000,000 primordial divine crystals, and this was only a little bit left. One could imagine how much there was before. It was no wonder that Lu Ming's resentment was so strong. What made Lu Ming want to vomit blood the most was that only the primordial divine crystals, divine power source beads, and that strange plant were all swallowed by the purple copper coffin. Nothing was left. Is there anything else? Lu Ming's eyes swept around, not letting go of any corner. This place was a holy land between heaven and earth. Anything that appeared here was a rare treasure. Asterisk roar. Asterisk at this moment, a loud roar was heard. Lu Ming was shocked. There was actually a living creature below? This was definitely not a small matter. Then, Lu Ming saw a spot on the ground that was glowing. Strands of multicolored light flew out. These strands of multicolored light were like threads that spiraled in the air. They intertwined with each other and actually formed an ape-like living creature. Of course, it wasn't a real living creature. It was just an outline that was formed by strands of multicolored light. However, it was very real. This living creature was indeed an ape-like living creature. It was as if the strands of multicolored light were the veins of a human body, forming an outline. The next moment, the multicolored light scattered again and flew around randomly. After a while, it gathered together again and formed the outline of an ape-like living creature that let out a roar. What? What is this? Lu Ming was a little confused. You're rich. Kid, you're rich. At this moment, Gumo's surprised voice sounded. What's going on? Lu Ming asked. If I'm not wrong, this multicolored light is the most basic substance that gives birth to a primordial divine spirit. Gumo said. The most basic substance that gives birth to a primordial divine spirit? Lu Ming was stunned. That's right. If there's enough time, this substance can even give birth to another primordial divine spirit. However, the conditions are different now. The environment doesn't support it. No matter how much time passes, it's impossible to really succeed. Lu Ming, this is a great opportunity. Although it's only a few strands, as long as you refine it, your ancient god body will skyrocket and continuously break through. Guimo said continuously, unable to hide his excitement. It can be refined directly? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. That's right. This multicolored light is the purest energy for living creatures who cultivate the primordial divine spirit. It's easy to refine. Guimo said. Okay. Lu Ming was very decisive. He controlled the purple copper coffin and flew toward the multicolored light. At the same time, he was very nervous. He was afraid that the purple copper coffin would open again and absorb the multicolored light. It turned out that he worried too much. The purple copper coffin didn't have any reaction. Obviously, the purple copper coffin didn't absorb the multicolored light previously. It was either that it didn't need it, or it was deliberately left behind to help Lu Ming. Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Was the purple copper coffin so humane? Soon, Lu Ming approached the multicolored light. However, at this moment, he made a new discovery. There was actually a small pit on the ground where the multicolored light appeared. There was some blood-red liquid in the small pit. This liquid was very strange. Not only was it filled with mist, but the mist was constantly twisting and changing, forming the shape of apes. This is the primordial spirit liquid. It's good stuff. Lu Ming, don't miss it. Take it all. Guamo shouted again. What's the effect of the primordial spirit liquid? Lu Ming asked. The primordial divine spirit that was born in this place should be related to apes. It might be the primordial divine ape, the ancestor of all apes. This primordial spirit liquid is most likely left behind by the primordial divine ape. It might be the primordial divine ape's sweat, saliva, or even urine, Guamo explained. Lu Ming was dumbstruck and tongue-tied. The saliva or urine of the primordial divine ape. Lu Ming was quite speechless. Don't underestimate it. This is most likely left behind by the primordial divine ape. It's the purest and has extraordinary effects. Other living beings only need to consume one drop to be reborn. They will have a trace of the primordial divine ape's bloodline in their body and can cultivate the primordial divine body related to the primordial divine ape. Guamo explained. One drop can cultivate the primordial divine body. Lu Ming was really shocked. Chapter 34-37. Lu Ming was shocked that a drop of primordial spiritual fluid could allow someone to cultivate the primordial godly body. It should be known that the primordial divine body was not easy to cultivate. If one wanted to cultivate it successfully, even if it was only the first transformation, the difficulty was extremely high. The conditions were extremely harsh. Back then, Lu Ming had been able to cultivate the primordial godly body only by chance. In fact, any secret body constitution technique was extremely difficult to cultivate as there were a series of harsh conditions. In this world, the people that Lu Ming met all cultivated the primordial godly body and were at a high level of attainment. This was because the people who came to this world were all geniuses from different races and forces in the primitive universe. It was hard to say how many races and forces there were in the primitive universe. It was normal for every force to have a few geniuses who had cultivated the primordial godly body. At the same time, this world was very helpful for cultivating the primordial godly body. That was why these people were so skilled. However, for ordinary people, secret body constitution technique and the primordial godly body were just wishful thinking. For example, in the Taishu dynasty, those who had cultivated the secret body constitution technique were in the minority. Most of them were geniuses. Didn't that mean that Lu Ming could cultivate an army of primordial godly body cultivators with the primordial spiritual fluid? At the thought of this, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He had the primordial godly body and would not need it. However, others could use it. For example, the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe. This primordial spiritual fluid was left behind by the primordial godly ape. The Dark Ape Fighting Tribe was also an ape. It was just right and complemented each other. Perhaps the effect would be even better. As for the ape's primordial godly body cultivation method, Lu Ming did not have to worry about it. In this world, what kind of primordial godly body cultivation method did not exist? He had seen others using the ape's primordial godly body before. He could just buy one in the future. Lu Ming was excited. He took out a jade bottle made of excellent material. This jade bottle was a secret treasure that he had obtained from the opponent he had killed. It was very spacious and was specially used to store primordial spiritual fluid. Using his god force, the primordial spirit liquid in the small pit flew toward the jade bottle. In the end, all of it was sucked into the jade bottle, not leaving a single drop behind. After putting the jade bottle into the Jingyu painting, Lu Ming stared at the rays of light again and slowly approached them. Dong, dong, dong. His ancient god's heart began to beat violently, emitting a powerful suction force that enveloped the rays of light. Suck! Lu Ming shouted, and the suction force increased. A few rays of light flew into the ancient god's heart and disappeared. Once the light entered the ancient god's heart, it turned into even smaller rays of light. From the heart, it traveled along Lu Ming's blood vessels and distributed throughout Lu Ming's body. Then, there was a loud roar as the multicolored light seeped into Lu Ming's body through his blood vessels. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt a tearing and penetrating sensation in his body. His bones, muscles, meridians, and everything else began to tremble and twist. He was transforming at a terrifying speed. Pain, extreme pain, but Lu Ming gritted his teeth and endured it. He knew that this was caused by the rapid transformation. As long as he endured the process, he would reap great rewards. Lu Ming's body was undergoing earth-shattering changes. Roar. After a while, Lu Ming let out a roar of the ancient god. His body expanded uncontrollably and transformed into a purple-armored ancient god body. However, after transforming into a 10,000-meter-tall purple-armored ancient god body, his body didn't stop expanding. It was still expanding rapidly. 10,000 meters, 20,000 meters, 30,000 meters. The speed of expansion was extremely shocking. However, this was the space within Fengyun Mountain. Fengyun Mountain was so huge that Lu Ming was no different from an ant in it. Soon, Lu Ming's body expanded to 50,000 meters. At this time, the color of his scales began to change. It was originally dark purple, but the purple color began to fade and was replaced by silver. Light silver. This was the sign of the 8th transformation of the ancient god body. I broke through to the 8th transformation so fast. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His ancient god body was already at the peak of the 7th transformation. However, even at the peak of the 7th transformation, it would take a long time to reach the 8th transformation. Even with the primordial divine crystal, it wouldn't be that easy to break through. However, with the help of the multicolored light, he was about to break through to the 8th transformation in just an hour. His body was still expanding. He hadn't reached his limit yet. The 8th transformation would allow his body to grow to 100,000 meters tall. In the blink of an eye, another 2 hours passed. Lu Ming's body finally grew to 100,000 meters tall. He had completely entered the 8th transformation. However, he was only at the early stage of the 8th transformation. The scales on his body were still light silver. However, only a small part of the multicolored light had been refined. There was still a lot left. The multicolored light was too heaven-defying. Its effect was far more than that. Continue. Lu Ming activated the complete ancient god technique and continued to cultivate and refine the multicolored light. However, during the process, Lu Ming felt a little obscure. However, under the heaven-defying effect of the multicolored light, this obscure feeling didn't affect him at all. His ancient god body was rapidly growing stronger. Lu Ming didn't think too much about it and focused on cultivating. His ancient god body was growing stronger at a terrifying speed. In just half a day, his ancient god body had forcefully increased from the early stage of the 8th transformation to the peak of the 8th transformation. Then, it was charging towards the 9th transformation. Roar, roar, roar. Lu Ming's body emitted a dazzling light. This light condensed into a huge ancient god shadow. The ancient god shadow roared towards the sky, and its aura grew stronger and stronger. After a while, Lu Ming's body emitted crackling sounds again. His body had started to change again. This time, the speed of change was even more shocking. Then, his body started to grow rapidly again. 100,000 meters tall, 200,000 meters tall. In just one day, his body had reached a shocking height of 1,000,000 meters. The scales on his body had also lost their silver glow and were replaced by gold. Faint gold. The 9th transformation of the ancient god body. In such a short time, Lu Ming had broken through to the 9th transformation of the ancient god body. If this news were to spread, it would scare people to death. At this time, A large part of the multicolored light had been consumed. There wasn't much left. However, it was still strengthening Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body was becoming stronger every second. After a day, when the last bit of multicolored light had been refined, the scales on Lu Ming's body had turned dark gold. Ancient God Body Ninth Transformation, great success. Lu Ming had already cultivated the ninth transformation to the great success. I heard that after cultivating the ancient God Body to the ninth transformation, it is considered to have reached the great success stage. However, there are more mysterious realms after that. One can even condense the blood of the ancient god. Lu Ming pondered. Chapter 34-38. The ninth transformation of the primordial divine body wasn't the end. It was just the peak of the initial stage. There was still a long way to go because even if one cultivated to the ninth transformation, there was still a huge gap between them and the primordial divine spirit. The primordial divine body was said to be able to transform into a primordial divine spirit when cultivated to the peak. Therefore, there was still a path after the ninth transformation. It was said that as long as one could cross it, they could even condense the blood of the primordial divine spirit, which was known as the primordial divine blood. However, it was extremely difficult to cross this step. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even an unparalleled genius would find it difficult to cross this step. Once they did, they would obtain boundless power and their combat power would increase tremendously. However, Lu Ming was already satisfied with cultivating to the ninth transformation. At this moment, he felt that his body was filled with boundless power. Also, the cultivation conditions here are too good. Comprehending the origin divine power factor and origin secret techniques here is shockingly fast. Lu Ming exclaimed. Previously, during the process of the primitive god body's transformation, he had already felt that comprehending the origin's divine power and the origin's secret techniques here would speed up his progress by leaps and bounds. It wasn't something the primitive god statue could compare to. This was the place where the primordial divine spirit was born. Although the primordial divine spirit that was born here might control the primordial divine power, it might be different from Lu Ming's cultivation. However, the primordial divine spirit's essence was the same. They were all born from the primordial era and the universe. Comprehending the essence was useful for all kinds of divine power. However, I am going out now. I will come back to cultivate in the future. Lu Ming muttered. He had been here for a few days and was worried about the Dragon League. Manku would definitely not let the Dragon League off. Lu Ming could only pray that Manku and the others were collecting the primordial divine crystals and didn't have time to deal with the Dragon League. However, a few days had passed and no one knew what would happen. With a thought, Lu Ming's body quickly shrunk to the size of a normal person. He then rushed up to the sky. The cave that was broken by the primordial divine chi was still there. This kind of cave would slowly disappear as time passed. Of course, it wouldn't be a short period of time. In the past, Fengyun Mountain had also experienced divine energy outbursts. After rushing out of such gaps, the divine energy would automatically disappear. Soon, Lu Ming rushed up hundreds of thousands of meters. At this point, the terrifying pressure disappeared. Lu Ming put away the purple copper coffin and used the Nine Heavens Kuan Pong technique to transform into a Kuan Pong and soared up. Not long after, he finally saw the gap and light shone in. Manku, I hope you haven't done anything yet. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. He rushed out of the cave and soared into the sky. As expected, there were still people in the vicinity of the gap. However, there weren't many of them, only about 100 or so, guarding the area. There were also people from the Berserker tribe among them, but Manku and the others were not there. When these people suddenly saw a person rush out of the gap, they were almost scared to death. They were so shocked that they were dumbstruck. There were actually creatures rushing out from within the famed mountains. What was going on? However, when they saw the person who rushed out, they were even more shocked. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. How is that possible? Wasn't he blasted into the famed mountains? How is he still alive? Send a voice transmission to the Alliance leader. These people exclaimed. Some of them even took out their voice transmission jade talismans to send a voice transmission. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed over and pressed his hand down. A huge palm was formed and pressed down on these people. These people did not care about sending voice transmissions. They attacked one after another, but they were too far away from Lu Ming. Under the pressure of the huge palm, these people coughed out blood and retreated with pale faces. Divine Dragon Dharma form. Lu Ming shouted and pushed his hands forward. 99 nine-claw dragons appeared and rushed in all directions. Then, over 100 explosions sounded. Over 100 people from the Barbarian Alliance coughed out blood and were severely injured. Then, Lu Ming used the ice chains to bind these people and freeze them. "Tell me, where is Manku?" Lu Ming asked coldly. These people were pale. "Don't even think about it," a barbarian shouted. Poof! Lu Ming flicked his finger, and a spear light flew out and pierced the barbarian's glabella, killing him. I'll tell you. Immediately, someone shouted. Not all of them were barbarians. Most of them were prodigies from other races. They were not loyal to Manku. When they saw Lu Ming's ruthlessness, they immediately told him everything. Manku led his men to the Dragon Alliance's base. The young man shouted, "What? Damn it! When did that happen?" Lu Ming shouted, "He left not long ago. It was less than an hour ago." The young man said, "Only an hour. Fortunately, we should be able to make it in time." Lu Ming was slightly relieved. Then, he waved his hand and spear light shot out, killing all the barbarians present. As for the prodigies from other races, Lu Ming did not kill them. He had no enmity with them. After killing the barbarians, Lu Ming rushed to the sky and rushed toward Fengyan Mountain, toward the Dragon Alliance's base. Seeing Lu Ming leave, the surviving prodigies heaved a sigh of relief. However, they were still sealed by the ice chains. If they did not suffer, they would not be able to escape. Outside the valley of the Dragon Alliance's headquarters, there was a sea of people. The valley was surrounded by Manku and his men. Bo-E and the rest of the Dragon Alliance were hiding in the valley, relying on the valley's formation to resist. "You think you can stop me with just a formation like this? Naive." Manku transformed into his 100,000-meter-tall barbarian god body. He wielded his bronze sword and kept slashing at the formation outside the valley. At the same time, Lin Xian and the other two vice mountain masters of Chi Tong Mountain were beside Manku. They looked on coldly. Boom, boom, boom. The formation kept shaking. Finally, it could not hold on any longer. Cracks appeared on it, and it finally exploded with a bang. After breaking the formation, Manku stopped. He looked down at Bo-E and the rest coldly. "Lu Ming is already dead, and you still want to fight back? You don't know your own strength." Bo-E and the rest were pale. It seemed that the Dragon Alliance could not be saved. "I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to surrender too." Many people in the Dragon Alliance shouted. This was normal. Many prodigies joined the Dragon Alliance only as a cooperative relationship. They handed over the origin divine crystals, and they would receive a portion of them. This world operated by such rules. There was no such thing as loyalty. They were only in this world to cultivate. Once they succeeded in their cultivation, they would leave this world and return to their original world in the primitive universe. "I surrender too." Many people in the Dragon Alliance shouted their surrender. Bo-E and the other vice leader of the Dragon Alliance had ugly expressions. They were defeated by Manku last time, but they did not surrender. This time, they would not surrender either. Chapter 34-39. Manku sneered as he looked at the members of the Dragon League. After a while, he said, "You can surrender if you want to. Kill the two of them, and you can surrender." Then, Manku pointed at Bo-E and the other vice leader of the Dragon League. "What? Kill the two of them, and you will surrender?" The other members of the Dragon League were shocked. "That's right. Kill the two of them, and I will reward you handsomely. Otherwise, don't even think about surrendering. Today, you will all be buried with Lu Ming." Manku's eyes flashed with killing intent and madness. "You! How dare you? I am the prince of the heavenly saint dynasty from the primitive universe. If you dare to kill me, the barbarian race will be annihilated." One of the young men shouted. "Hee hee, don't try to scare me with your identity. If I kill you, the people of the Heavenly Saint Dynasty won't know. Moreover, killing is a common thing here. If you are killed, the Heavenly Saint Dynasty will attack the other forces. Wouldn't that be a joke? The other forces will laugh at you." Manku sneered. The young man's face turned pale. Indeed, in this world, there were many prodigies from different forces who were constantly killing each other. Every day, there would be people dying in battle. If they all went to seek revenge, the universe would be in chaos. Kill the two of them, and you can live. You will also be rewarded. Manku sneered. Many people's eyes lit up as they stared at Bo-E and the other vice leader with killing intent. Bo-E and the other vice leaders' faces changed. "Manku, don't use this method to humiliate us," Bo-E shouted. "I want to humiliate you. What's wrong with that?" Manku sneered. He was extremely unhappy with Bo-E and the other vice leader. Last time, they didn't submit to him and chose to submit to Lu Ming. He could let the others go, but not Bo-E and the other vice leader. "Manku, let's fight to the death." Bo-E roared, and his body soared into the sky. He transformed into his ancient god body and charged at Manku. The other Vice Alliance leader did the same and charged toward Manku. They would rather die in battle than be surrounded by the other members of the Dragon League. That would be a great humiliation. The two of them used their full strength and planned to fight to the death with Manku. "You overestimate yourself," Manku said coldly. He opened his mouth, and the white bone flew out, emitting a terrifying roar. Instantly, Bo-E and the young man's souls were attacked, and their bodies trembled. Whoosh! Whoosh! Manku's bronze sword slashed towards the two of them. The two of them weren't as strong as Manku to begin with, and with their souls affected, they were sent flying. Following that, Manku slashed out 2 more times, slashing at Bo-E's 2 disciples. Bo-E's 2 disciples let out a muffled groan as they fell to the ground, a deep sword wound appearing on their bodies. Manku didn't continue to kill Bo-E and the other person. Instead, he looked at the people from the Dragon Alliance and said, "What are you waiting for? Kill those 2. The eyes of even more Dragon Alliance members lit up. Now that Bo-E and Yi Shiwen were injured, killing them would be even easier. Many people were tempted. "Manku, I'll fight you to the death," Bo-E roared. He erupted with all his strength and was about to charge forward to fight Manku. "Bo-E, leave this to me." At this moment, a voice came from the sky. The voice was clear but abnormally cold, filled with cold killing intent. Hearing this voice, Bo-E and Yi Shiwen's bodies trembled. Then, they revealed an excited expression as they looked towards the sky. The other people from the Dragon Alliance were also shocked. "This is the Alliance Master's voice?" "It's the Alliance Master's voice," many people from the Dragon Alliance exclaimed. "How is this possible?" Manku was also shocked. He was too familiar with Lu Ming's voice. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. But wasn't Lu Ming dead? How could he appear? Manku raised his head and looked towards the sky. In the sky, a young man stood there, looking at them coldly. If it wasn't Lu Ming, who else could it be? At the same time, Qi Tongshan and the other 2 Vice Mountain Lords also looked towards Lu Ming. "Impossible!" Lin Xian roared. His eyes were filled with disbelief. A few days ago, he had used the 100 Layers Force Pagoda to blast Lu Ming down to the bottom of Fengyan Mountain. How could Lu Ming still be alive? The 100 Layers Force Pagoda was a secret treasure that he had obtained by chance. It was very mysterious. Once it exploded, it would form a gravitational force that would suppress the opponent. Back then, he had used the 100 Layers Force Pagoda to explode, forming the 100 Layers Force Pagoda. He was confident that he could blast Lu Ming down to the bottom of the famed mountain. Lu Ming was just a divine king. How could he still be alive after being blasted to the bottom of the famed mountain? Lin Xian was dumbfounded. He couldn't figure it out at all. Swish! Lu Ming took a step forward and landed in front of Bo-E and the others. Lu Ming is still alive. The eyes of some people from the Dragon League flickered. They had been prepared to attack Bo-E and the other Vice Mountain Lord, but now they had given up on the idea and decided to observe the situation. Lu Ming, I have to say that you're really lucky. You didn't die even after that. However, you're too stupid. Since you didn't die, you should find a place to hide. That way, you could have kept your life. I didn't expect you to appear in front of me. Today, I'll turn you into a dead man. Manka roared. His eyes were extremely ferocious. If I don't come out, how can I kill you? Lu Ming said indifferently. Kill me? Ha ha ha. It seems like you're not completely fine after being blasted down from the bottom of the famed mountain. You must be out of your mind. Manka laughed wildly. He then shouted, Everyone, let's attack together with me and kill this person. He caused me to lose 100 layers Force Pagoda. He must die. Lin Xian said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, his body swelled rapidly. He turned into a golden giant ape with the Qilin battle halberd in his hand. At the same time, the other two vice mountain masters of Qi Tongshan also turned into primordial godly bodies. It seems like you have a primordial godly body related to the ape race. Just nice. Do you have the secret manual? Lu Ming stared at Lin Xian and asked, So what if I have it? Do you still want my primordial godly body? Ridiculous. Lin Xian retorted, It's good that you have it. Lu Ming showed some joy. As long as he could get the cultivation method of Lin Xian's primordial godly body and the primordial spiritual liquid, the Dark Ape Battle Clan would be able to cultivate. With these, he could even form an invincible army. Why are you talking so much nonsense with him? Kill him, Manka shouted. He waved his bronze battle sword and attacked Lu Ming. Roar. Lu Ming let out a roar. His body swelled rapidly and turned into the primordial godly body. In the blink of an eye, he grew to 10,000 meters. However, he did not stop. He only stopped when he was 100,000 meters tall. His whole body was shining silver. Lu Ming displayed the silver-armored ancient godly body. At the same time, Lu Ming's aura skyrocketed. He had already activated the battle character secret manual to increase his fighting strength by 5 times. Wang. Chapter 3440. Lu Ming activated his ancient god body to the peak of the silver-armored ancient god body and clashed with Man Ku. There was a loud bang and the two figures that were 100,000 meters tall retreated. This move was evenly matched. Before this, Lu Ming couldn't defeat Man Ku without Qiuqiu's help. He would definitely be at a disadvantage in a head-on clash. But now, Lu Ming pushed his ancient god body to the peak of the silver-armored ancient god body. Without Qiuqiu's help, he could fight Man Ku head-on. The 8th transformation of the ancient god body. How is this possible? Man Ku was shocked. Lin Xian and the rest were also shocked. A few days ago, Lu Ming was only at the 7th transformation of the ancient god body. How could he break through to the 8th transformation in just a few days? This speed was too fast. Thanks to you guys. You guys sent me into the famed mountain and allowed me to have a fortuitous encounter. My ancient god body broke through smoothly. I still have to thank you guys. Lu Ming said calmly. At the same time, Qiuqiu wriggled and covered Lu Ming's body. Qiuqiu could change its size. Even if Lu Ming became 100,000 meters tall, it could still cover Lu Ming. Not to mention 100,000 meters, it could even cover 1,000,000 meters. To thank you guys, I will send you on your way. Lu Ming's eyes were cold and murderous, like 2 icy pools. Qiuqiu condensed into a battle sword in his hand, and Lu Ming held it. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and charged toward Man Ku. Man Ku was shocked. He quickly controlled the white bone and merged it with his body, turning it into a white bone armor. This piece of white bone could only be fused with his body 3 times before it lost its effect. This was already the 3rd time. After using it this time, it would become useless. Manka's heart was bleeding, but he couldn't care less. Lu Ming's strength was already so shocking in the past. With Qiuqiu, Lu Ming could be on par with him. In fact, Lu Ming's attack power was even higher than his. Now that his ancient god body had broken through to the 8th transformation, his strength was even more terrifying. He was definitely not a match for Lu Ming. Clang! At the same time, Manka quickly retreated. He brandished his bronze sword and clashed with Lu Ming. A terrifying explosion erupted as a berserk chi swept out in all directions. Manka's body shook violently, and he almost lost his grip on his bronze battle sword. His huge body retreated like a cannonball. Kill. At this time, Lin Xian's group of 3 had already arrived, attacking Lu Ming. I'll kill you first. Lu Ming's gaze was like lightning. Brandishing his battle sword, he charged at Lin Xian's group of 3. In an instant, 9 sword glows appeared. After a series of explosions, Lin Xian's group of 3 had a change of expression and retreated continuously. The 3 of them joined forces, but were unexpectedly repelled by Lu Ming. After repelling a few people, Lu Ming stared at one person and attacked. It was the 3-headed giant wolf. The 3-headed giant wolf let out a long howl as its 3 mouths continuously spat out terrifying beams of light. However, with Lu Ming's current strength, he had long surpassed it. With a wave of his battle sword, he broke through the beams of light and his figure rapidly followed up, violently slashing down. Puff. Blood splattered everywhere as the 3-headed giant wolf was slashed horizontally. 2 of his 3 heads were chopped off. A few days ago, one of the 3-headed giant wolf's heads had been chopped off by Lu Ming. However, it had recovered in the past few days. But now, 2 of his heads had been chopped off at once. He was severely injured. The 3-headed giant wolf retreated in horror, wanting to escape. However, this time, Lu Ming would not let it escape. His 100,000-meter-tall body continued to step in the air. He slashed with his combat sword, and the entire void was shrouded by the combat sword. No, the 3-headed giant wolf roared in despair. His full resistance was useless. A few days ago, before Lu Ming had broken through, his strength had already surpassed him slightly. Now that he had displayed the 8th transformation of the ancient god body, he was no match for him at all. He could not escape even if he wanted to. His attack and defense could not withstand a single blow. Like paper, they were split apart by Lu Ming's sword. Even his body was split apart. As the 3-headed giant wolf roared in despair, his soul was annihilated by the destructive power, and he died completely. A deputy mountain lord of Qi Tongshan had died. At this moment, Lin Xian and Qiuqiu's attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body shook, and only Lin Xian managed to break through Qiuqiu's defense. However, after breaking through Qiuqiu's defense, their power was greatly reduced. They could only cut through the silver scales on the surface of Lu Ming's body, leaving only a trace of blood. Tyrannical God Spear. Lu Ming shouted in a low voice. The tyrannical god spear appeared in his left hand. He swept Lin Xian and Qiuqiu's army with a move of total annihilation. Under the state of the silver-armored ancient god body, the power of wielding the tyrannical god spear was naturally stronger than before. With 2 booming sounds, Lin Xian and Qiuqiu's army were forced to retreat. Then, Lu Ming used the ruler's gate, void-shattering sword, moon of moon, sun of sun, and other secret techniques of the origin. They were all unleashed at Lin Xian's face. On the other hand, Lu Ming brandished his sword and slashed at the other deputy mountain lord of Qi Tongshan. This person had just been forced back by Lu Ming's tyrannical god spear. Before he could even stabilize himself, Lu Ming had already arrived. In his panic, he barely managed to block a move. Then, he was cleaved into 2 by Lu Ming and died. From Lu Ming's attack to the killing of 2 people, it had only happened in an instant. It was unbelievably fast. At this moment, the surrounding people finally reacted. They found it hard to believe. The people of the Dragon Alliance were stunned. They didn't expect Lu Ming's strength to be so strong. As for Man Ku, he turned pale with fright. Lu Ming was blasted out of the famed mountain. Not only did he not die, his strength had increased greatly. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. At this moment, he was extremely terrified. As for Lu Ming, he had already launched a storm of attacks at Lin Xian. Lin Xian was slightly stronger than the other 2. He could be ranked in the top 30 of this world's God King ranking. However, facing Lu Ming's storm of attacks, he could only die. Zzz. Each of Lu Ming's attacks contained lightning like Qiuqiu. Every time Lin Xian received a blow, his body would feel numb. As a result, his strength was reduced, and he was no match for Lu Ming. Puff. Lu Ming slashed at his chest. A wound that was a few thousand meters long appeared. If he hadn't dodged in time, his body would have been cleaved into two. Manku, quick, come and lend me a hand. Lin Xian roared. Manku's expression changed. He was terrified. Then, he turned around and ran. At the same time, he shouted, Lin Xian, hold him off for a while. I'll get reinforcements to save you. Ah, Manku, you deserve to die. Lin Xian roared in despair. Manku was going to get reinforcements to save him. What a joke. Was it too late to get reinforcements now? He was obviously trying to escape. Don't worry. After I kill you, I'll send him to accompany you on your way. Lu Ming sneered. He attacked Lin Xian with all kinds of secret arts of the origin. He forced Lin Xian to reveal a flaw. Then, he slashed down with his battle sword. This time, Lin Xian couldn't dodge in time. He was hit. His body that was 100,000 meters tall was cleaved into two. He died completely. Manku's spiritual sense scanned the scene. He was almost scared to death and ran even faster. However, Lu Ming chased after Manku at high speed. Manku had to die. Lu Ming's speed was obviously faster than Manku's. The barbarian god physique was good at defense. Speed was its shortcoming. Chapter 3441. Before Manku could escape from the Fengyun Mountain, Lu Ming had caught up to him. When he caught up, he slashed his sword at Manku. Manku hurriedly waved his sword to block, but with a clang, his body retreated and broke a mountain peak. Following that, Lu Ming waved his sword again and slashed at Manku's chest. Zzz, the battle sword slashed at Manku's chest, causing sparks to fly and an ear-piercing sound to be heard. Break for me! Lu Ming roared and unleashed all of his power. Together with Qiuqiu's power, they exploded. Boom boom. The rocks under Manku's body exploded continuously. Gravel flew everywhere, and a huge crater was formed. In the end, Manku's attack was broken. A crack appeared on the white bone armor. Even Manku's crystal armor was broken and fresh blood flowed out. Manku screamed in fear. The defense that he was so proud of was broken. This made him extremely terrified. He would die like this. He hurriedly waved his bronze sword to resist, but it was blocked by the tyrant god's spear in Lu Ming's left hand. The battle sword in his right hand continued to slash at the wound. Poochie. The battle sword slashed into the wound and blood splattered everywhere. The power of lightning and Lu Ming's divine power rushed into the wound and exploded in Manku's body. Manku's body shook violently. His insides were in a mess and his organs were blown to pieces. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely die. However, Manku was a peak divine king and naturally wouldn't die so easily. He was severely injured and couldn't maintain his primordial divine body. His body shrunk rapidly and returned to its original state. No, don't kill me. Save me. Manku screamed hysterically. Go on your way. No one can save you today. Lu Ming said coldly and slashed down with his sword. But at this moment, a terrifying aura exploded in the sky. A huge palm grabbed at Lu Ming. The palm print whistled and the sky shook. The terrifying energy caused Lu Ming's expression to change. This palm print was fatal to Lu Ming. He couldn't care less about killing Manku and slashed at the sky with all his strength. Boom! Lu Ming's body shook as the battle sword struck the palm print. It was as if he had been hit by a planet. He was forced back several thousand meters before he could stabilize himself. And that palm print was also blocked by Lu Ming. A burly figure appeared in the sky. Guardian. That person was really the guardian of Wind Cloud Mountain and the descendant of the god of berserkers. The guardian Jin stood in the air, his body emitting a violent aura. He stared at Lu Ming and said, "This battle is over. All of you, disperse." His words shocked the others, especially the people from the Dragon Alliance. The Protector had actually personally appeared to interfere. According to the rules, the Protectors were not allowed to interfere in the battles within the various famed mountains, and allowed them to develop as they pleased. Only when people from other famed mountains came to attack this famed mountain would he intervene. What was going on? It will end here. Don't worry, after I kill Manku, this battle will be over. Lu Ming said coldly. You don't understand what I mean? Manka can't die. From now on, Wind Cloud Mountain will be split equally between the two of you. The protector said coldly. Ha ha ha, split equally? What a joke. Manku was defeated by me. What right does he have to split equally with me? Also, as the protector, you can't interfere in the internal affairs of the famed mountains. What right do you have to interfere? Lu Ming shouted. How dare you? Don't think that you can talk to me like that just because you have some talent. If I want you to die, it's as easy as crushing an ant. The protector said coldly. As the protector, you didn't interfere when the people from Qi Tongshan came to attack us. Instead, you want to interfere when we're having an internal conflict. I'll definitely report this to the enforcers. You'll be punished. Lu Ming shouted. Stubborn. You're courting death. The protector exuded a strong murderous intent. His terrifying aura erupted and formed a terrifying pressure that enveloped Wind Cloud Mountain. Some of the weaker cultivators were unable to withstand the pressure and fell to the ground with a thump, their faces pale. Since you're courting death, I'll kill you once and for all. The protector said coldly. He raised his right hand and a huge axe condensed. It exuded a terrifying aura and was about to chop down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face was extremely solemn. The protector's strength was definitely at the fourth layer Divine Lord realm and above. He was too strong and definitely not someone he could go against. He could easily kill him. However, it was impossible for Lu Ming to beg for mercy. If you dare to make a move, I guarantee that you'll die a horrible death. At this moment, a cold voice came from the distant horizon. Hearing this voice, Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. That was because it was the voice of Wan Shun. Lu Ming quickly looked over and saw a figure flying over at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of them. Who else could it be if it wasn't Wan Shun? However, Wan Shun came alone and Blue Merchant wasn't by his side. Wan Shun, are you all right? Lu Ming quickly asked. Back when they were being chased by the barbarian race, Wan Shun was seriously injured and unconscious. His injuries were extremely serious and Lu Ming was rather worried. I'm fine. I've long recovered. Wan Shun smiled. Kid, who are you? The protector narrowed his eyes and looked at Wan Shun. His friend. Wan Shun pointed at Lu Ming and said, You're not from Tempest Mountain, right? The protector said, No. Wan Shun said, If you're not from Tempest Mountain, then get lost. You have no right to interfere in this matter. The protector shouted coldly. Lu Ming was so angry that he laughed. This protector was really shameless. He didn't care when Qi Tongshan's men came. Now that Wan Shun was here, he wanted to interfere? Wan Shun ignored the protector and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Continue. Leave this guy to me. All right. Lu Ming nodded and walked toward Manku. How dare you? You're courting death. The protector was furious. With a wave of his hand, the huge battle axe slashed down at Lu Ming. I think you're the one who's going to die, Wan Shun shouted. A stone spear appeared and became extremely huge. It pierced through the void and hit the huge battle axe, causing it to shatter. The spear did not stop and continued to attack the protector. The protector was shocked. He never expected Wan Shun to be so strong that he could destroy his battle axe in one move. Although it was just a battle axe condensed from his divine force, it was still shocking enough. How dare you attack the protector? You're courting death. The protector shouted coldly and took a step forward. Heaven and earth shook as terrifying divine force erupted like a volcano. Barbarian God Fist. The protector shouted and punched out with both fists. In an instant, dozens of punches were thrown out. Dozens of fist gleams blasted toward Wan Shun with earth-shattering force. The moment the fist gleams touched them, the void exploded. The power was terrifying. Wan Shun's expression was calm. The stone spear vibrated and stabbed out dozens of times. Dozens of stone spears seemed to have appeared in the sky and collided with the opponent's fist gleams. Chapter 3442. Wan Shun's attack collided with the Guardian's attack, causing the world to tremble. Then, Wan Shan drifted back and the Guardian's fist force completely vanished. It was blocked. Everyone was dumbfounded. Wan Shan looked like a figure of the younger generation, but to be able to block the Guardian's attack, this talent was too terrifying. More importantly, Wan Shan's cultivation was at the Divine Lord realm, so why would he appear here? Divine Lords were not allowed to enter this place, and once someone broke through to the Divine Lord realm, they would be sent away. Divine Lord realm, how did you come in? The Guardian bellowed. Why do you care how I came in? You should care about yourself first. Wan Shan erupted with soaring fighting spirit as he took a step forward. The stone spear became as large as a mountain as it pressed down on the Guardian. Kill! The Guardian bellowed as his body emitted a resplendent radiance. This time, a bronze battle axe condensed. This was the Guardian's origin secret technique. The Guardian was serious as he charged at Wan Shan. Boom! Boom! The two engaged in an intense battle as the sky constantly trembled. Every collision was like a star exploding. For a moment, it was difficult to determine the victor. Wan Shan's cultivation Lu Ming was extremely shocked by Wan Shan's cultivation. Before they entered this world, Wan Shan's cultivation was at the second-level Divine Lord realm. But now, Wan Shan's cultivation was definitely not at the second-level Divine Lord realm, or even the third-level Divine Lord realm. According to the experts Lu Ming had encountered in the past, Wan Shan's cultivation had reached the terrifying fourth-level Divine Lord realm. How long had it been? Wan Shan's cultivation had broken through 2 more levels, reaching the fourth-level Divine Lord realm. This was too terrifying. How could a Divine Lord realm's cultivation speed be so fast? It seems like Wan Shan must have had a fortuitous encounter during this period of time. Lu Ming's heart stirred. This world was related to the primordial divine spirits everywhere, and Wan Shan was formed from the bloodlines of dozens of primordial divine spirits. His talent was too terrifying. In this world, he was like a fish in water. With a little fortuitous encounter, he would advance by leaps and bounds. In the blink of an eye, Wan Shan and the Guardian exchanged over 100 blows. The more the Guardian fought, the more shocked and terrified he became. He had peak 6th-level Divine Lord cultivation and actually could not do anything to a young man. Below, Manku was almost scared to death. The Guardian was his backer. Now that his backer was blocked, who was going to save him? Bang! Lu Ming stepped out and walked towards Manku. Now, let's see who can save you. Die! Lu Ming said coldly. His huge body looked down at Manku. Help! Manku roared, calling for help from the Guardian. Get lost, brat! The Guardian roared. His body swelled up rapidly, turning into a 1,000,000-meter-tall giant that stood between heaven and earth. The Guardian had also cultivated the barbarian god body and had already reached the 9th transformation. His strength was extremely shocking. The gigantic bronze axe became incomparably huge. With a single chop, it seemed as if it could split the heavens and earth apart as it charged towards the myriad gods. Wan Shan was fearless. With a long roar, his body emitted a dazzling light. One after another, Origin Source secret techniques flew out, shattering the void and charging towards the Guardian. There were a total of 18 Origin Source secret techniques. There were a few more than before. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded. The Guardian's attack was blocked. 18 Origin Source secret techniques? How is this possible? Also, your primordial divine body. The Guardian roared in shock. His pupils contracted rapidly as if he had seen something unbelievable. He could become the Guardian because he was a peerless genius when he was young. Otherwise, how could he have awakened Origin Source secret techniques and cultivated the primordial divine body to the 9th transformation? It could be said that his strength was top-notch among those of the same level. An ordinary 6th-level Divine Lord would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. But now, he could not do anything to Wan Shan even though his cultivation was 2 levels higher. Not only did Wan Shan control 18 Origin Source secret techniques, but he had also comprehended each Origin Source secret technique to an extremely deep level. Moreover, Wan Shan's divine body was too terrifying. Although it was only the size of an ordinary person, it had completely surpassed the 9th transformation of the primordial divine body. What kind of monster was this? Facing Wan Shan's barrage of attacks, the Guardian could not even take care of himself. He no longer had the strength to protect Manku. Manku revealed a look of despair and turned to escape. Young Master Manku, leave quickly. We will hold him back. Over a dozen elderly barbarians rushed over. These elderly barbarians were nearing the end of their lives. They were not afraid of death and wanted to protect Manku. With Manku's talent, he would definitely become a big shot of the barbarian tribe in the future. He definitely could not die here. The dozen elderly barbarians were all peak divine kings. Moreover, they had awakened their origin source divine powers for the third time. They were extremely strong and surpassed ordinary peak divine kings by a level. But now, facing Lu Ming, they could not withstand a single blow. Kill! Lu Ming shouted coldly and slashed out with his battle sword. A shocking sword light swept across the void. Accompanied by huge bolts of lightning, it blasted towards the elderly barbarians. Bang, bang, bang. These elderly barbarians were first struck by the lightning. Then, they were struck by the lightning. They exploded and died on the spot. The dozen elderly barbarians died tragically in an instant. Now, ordinary peak divine kings could not withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Moreover, there was also Qiuqiu. After killing the dozen elderly barbarians, Lu Ming did not stop. He continued to walk towards Manku and reached out his hand to grab Manku. Manku let out a cry of despair. Although he tried his best to resist, it was useless. He was caught by Lu Ming. Lu Ming was 100,000 meters tall. When he grabbed Manku, it was like grabbing an ant. I'll send you on your way, Lu Ming said coldly. In front of Manku's desperate eyes, he squeezed hard. Manku let out a cry, and his body exploded. He died on the spot. Let's go. With Manku killed, the remaining barbarians did not dare to stay any longer. They all ran out of Fengyun Mountain, afraid that Lu Ming would settle the score. Lu Ming could not be bothered with these small fries. He focused on the battle in the sky. So powerful. So, origin source secret techniques can be used like this. Has he severed the shackles? Lu Ming looked at Wan Shun's origin source secret techniques and sighed. Every origin source secret technique had boundless potential. There was a lot of potential to be unearthed. A newly awakened origin source secret technique was only the most superficial use. For example, Wan Shun could unleash the power of origin source secret techniques to a shocking extent. When Wan Shun used the gate of domination, a vortex would appear. There would be loud roars coming from within, as if there were terrifying creatures that were about to charge out. There were other origin source secret techniques that exploded with shocking power. Lu Ming heard that every origin source secret technique was covered with layers of shackles. However, they could not be seen or sensed by the naked eye. Only when one's comprehension of the origin source secret technique reached a certain level would one be able to sense it. As long as the shackles were severed, the power of the origin source secret technique would skyrocket. Chapter 34-43. These shackles were like a seal that sealed the original might of the quintessence secret technique. Once the seal was undone, its might would erupt. Every quintessence secret technique had more than one shackle. It was said that once completely severed, its might would not be weaker than that of a true primordial god. Its might was astounding, capable of shattering the universe. Of course, severing these shackles was extremely difficult. It was even more difficult than awakening in quintessence secret technique. Up until now, Lu Ming had not seen anyone other than the myriad gods who had severed the shackles of an quintessence secret technique. Lu Ming had not done so either. The myriad gods were engaged in an intense battle with the Guardian. Kill! The myriad gods roared, growing braver as they fought, their fighting spirit growing stronger and stronger. As for the Guardian, he grew more alarmed as he fought, his fighting spirit weakening. Bam! Finally, the Guardian was struck in the head by the myriad god's gate of domination. He retreated rapidly, his head spinning from the blow. If not for his profound cultivation and the ninth transformation of the barbarian god body, giving him astonishing defensive strength, his head would have exploded. Even so, he still felt his vision blur as a large bump appeared on his head. Following that, he was infuriated. He was the guardian of a famed mountain, a peak 6th-level divine lord. For him to be struck by a youth was a great humiliation. Roar! The guardian let out a frenzied roar, intending to burn his divine power to fight the myriad gods, disregarding everything to slay them. Enough! At this moment, a dignified voice came from the sky, followed by a powerful pressure. The guardian and the myriad gods could not withstand this pressure. Their bodies trembled as they retreated. A gray-robed elder stepped down from the sky and landed between the guardian and the myriad gods. Lord Enforcer. Upon seeing the elder, the guardian's expression changed as he hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed. This is an enforcer? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He had long heard that there were 3 enforcers in this world, their status above the guardian, but he had never seen them before. Old man, don't stop me. I'm going to kill him. The myriad gods shouted. It's not certain who will be killed, the guardian said coldly. Shut up. The enforcer shouted coldly and looked at the protector. The protector didn't dare to say anything else. Then, the enforcer looked at Wan Shun and smiled bitterly. Wan Shun, how about we let this matter go on account of me? From the looks of it, the enforcers knew the myriad deities. I'll kill this guy sooner or later. The myriad god coldly snorted and coldly glanced at the guardian. The guardian's face was unsightly, but he didn't say anything. He knew that there was nothing he could do to Lu Ming today. Even he would be punished. I have a general understanding of what happened. Manxian, you have already violated the rules by allowing people from other famed mountains to interfere with MT Fengyun. Do you understand? The enforcer said coldly. This subordinate knows his mistake. The guardian, Mangon, lowered his head and said, All right, since you're guilty, I'll strip you of your authority as a guardian. Go back and await your punishment. The enforcer waved his hand and said, Yes. Manxian nodded. Then, he turned into a streak of rainbow light and flew towards a direction, leaving that place. Lu Ming, are you all right? After Manxian left, Wan Shan flew over and looked at Lu Ming worriedly. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled and shrunk his body to the size of an ordinary person. By the way, where have you been all this time? Also, where's Lan Shu? Wasn't he with you? Lu Ming asked a few questions. When the 2 of us entered, we appeared in an underground palace. The cultivation environment there is very good. I've been cultivating there for more than 100 years and my cultivation has broken through 2 levels. However, Lan Shu's luck is even better. He had a fortuitous encounter and is now cultivating in seclusion. I believe that he will look for you once he's done with his cultivation. Wanshan said. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that Blue Merchant was fine and even had a fortuitous encounter. By the way, Lu Ming, I came to look for you this time to bid farewell to you. Wanshan suddenly said. Farewell? Lu Ming was stunned. Wanshan bade him farewell. Where was he going? Lu Ming couldn't help but look at the enforcer. Instinctively, Lu Ming felt that this matter had something to do with the enforcer. Wan Shan wants to follow me to the cryptic world. The enforcer walked over and said, The cryptic world? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right. Since you're Wan Shan's friend, you'll know sooner or later. There's no harm in telling you. In fact, this world hides a big secret that's beyond your imagination. The world you're in now is just the peripheral world. The real core is in the cryptic world. The enforcer explained. There's actually a cryptic world? Where's the entrance? Why haven't I heard of it? Wait, that door? Lu Ming's mind raced. He suddenly remembered that when he first entered this world, he found a huge, faintly discernible door on a mountain range. Could that door be the door to the cryptic world? You should have heard that as long as one's cultivation reaches the Divine Lord level or above, they will be sent away. Let me tell you, some people enter the cryptic world to cultivate, while others are sent back. The enforcer explained. Yes, Lu Ming, I've been to the cryptic world. That world is too suitable for me, so I want to bid you farewell. Wanshan said. Yes, Wan Shan has the strongest talent among all the people I've seen. He's the most compatible with the primordial gods. It's unbelievable. If he enters the cryptic world to cultivate, his progress will be amazing. He'll definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Even I can't predict his achievements. The enforcer said, Go. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Wan Shan. Cultivate well, and strive to reach the peak as soon as possible. Lu Ming knew very well that Wan Shan was evolved from the bloodline of dozens of primordial gods. His talent was too terrifying. Moreover, this world was the world of the primordial gods. It was very suitable for Wan Shan to stay here and cultivate. He would definitely be able to improve rapidly. Following him would only be a waste of his talent. He was happy for Wan Shan. Lu Ming, I'll definitely cultivate hard and help you out as soon as possible, Wan Shan said with a determined gaze. Okay, I'll wait for you. Lu Ming smiled. Also, I'll leave the coordinates here. When Lan Shu comes out, he'll find this place. Speaking of this, Wan Shan walked over and gave Lu Ming a hug. Lu Ming, take care. Take care. Lu Ming replied with a smile. Then, Wan Shan followed the enforcer and stepped into the air, disappearing in the blink of an eye. After the enforcer left, the scene was silent. Everyone's gaze fell on Lu Ming. Now that Man Ku was dead, Lu Ming was the king of Fengyan Mountain. Are you guys going to surrender or leave? Lu Ming looked at the people from the Barbarian Alliance. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.